Blabber Brains.
I know you're still doing a lot of stand up as well. And
Yeah.
do you find it more difficult today because of how sensitive everybody is to do
Yeah.
material, or do you not care and you just go out and be
You
who
know,
you want to be anyways?
every podcast or anything, any appearance I do, that's a popular thing. And I ask comedians the same thing when they're on punchlines. I don't know. I still do some jokes that are probably not woke, but I do them in a jovial manner. And I look so, I think I'm also not menacing. I don't say it with any hatred or like, trying to be like mean or cruel. I'll get away with some stuff. And I haven't had any problems. Now, I've been doing stand up in LA for the past 25 years. Never had any problems. I've seen problems arise. And, I had Chris Newberg on the show yesterday, and he talked about the proliferation of a lot of clips that go viral and that are on social media are comics getting heckled and therefore then doing some crowd work and whatever. So now he feels when he's on the road a lot more, and I haven't done the road a lot in a long time, that people now feel like they are supposed to do that. They are supposed to be part of the show to create those clips to help the comics. There are some comics who don't mind it. I don't mind when people find the right spot, but I also invite it a lot. Like, hey, who's done that? Like, I invite a lot of crowd interaction.
Right.
So I'm the kind of comic who can't be mad if someone yells something out because I've kind of set that stage early on, and it's kind of a rowdier show, so I don't mind. If they get out of line, I go, hey, but I just worked with a comic here at the Laugh Factory, and someone was talking and he just stops the show. Hey, you're ruining the show for everybody else. Stop. And by the way, everybody else might not be in agreement with him. So it's weird. There's always a really weird, like, the principle. It's a weird feeling if it's not done right. And this guy's been around forever and kicked the people out. I very rarely ever had to kick people out. I might go, hey, let me get you a drink. Stop. We're all having fun. Pick your spots. Don't do it during a setup. If you're going to do something, I might even cue you. Like it's dependent. Every comic's different. I try to do a lot of audience participation, and I cue the crowd. Hey, who's done this? Like Billy Elmer is a legendary comic from Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Billy is who I opened for a lot when I started. It was Cran
Right.
and Elmer. But Billy is the master at working a room, and I learned from him. And one of the biggest compliments, we were doing a bar out in Monongahela. I was working with Elmer, and I opened for him. And then I went back like 2 years later and headlined the show. And I got done, and the owner came over. He goes, man, have you gotten better? I was like, oh, thanks. He goes, because you were here with Billy. He goes, you were funny. But he goes, now, you're different. He goes, you're like what Billy does. And I said, well, I learned by studying and how he'll get one person and involve them in the show and refer to stuff in the area or signs you might see driving in and incorporate, some improvised stuff so people feel like, wow, he really knows our stuff. I just learned so many little tricks from Billy, and I took that as a big compliment. So every comic's different. A lot of guys who write joke, punchline, set up punchline, so they don't want people messing with their rhythm. And that was like this guy this is Craig Shoemaker, who's a comedian who's been around forever. He doesn't like it because he has jokes written out. He doesn't deviate from the way they are. Whereas I kind of go up with the premise, and it might be a little different each time, where I have payoffs and punchlines. So even if someone yells something out, I talk rather fast a lot, if you haven't gathered that. So there's not a lot of space for people to jump in with me anyway. So
Right.
I think people, as far as, there's taboo subjects. Yeah, people are more sensitive, but, I haven't seen too much of it. I do see it online when I see clips. So,
Well, I think it all depends on the comedian also, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the ones who have the jokes written and they just have the routine. I also don't think that they invite that crowd interaction. Like Rocky, I've seen him live before, seen him on TV. There's not a whole lot of people yelling things out to him. You got like Brian Regan, you got Nate Bargatze, these type of people, like their style of comedy doesn't leave you to want to jump in and say something.
Exactly
But
right.
you got like Matt Rife or Andrew Schulz, like that's their whole show. Their whole show is talking to the audience and incorporating the audience. So
You use the two names. Yeah, exactly. Those two names right there are the two. Yeah.
yeah, they're to me, they're like they're almost like modern day Don Rickles. You know what I mean? Like they really don't shy away from any subject. They don't shy away from any. Andrew Scholes will,
I,
you know,
and
with people
I'm
laughing, insult them right to their face.
I'm more of a
You know?
fan of him than Rife. I think Schultz at least has. I've never seen Matt Rife really do material. It just always seems, he's playing off how cute he is and girls bringing him stuff, whatever.
Right?
But Schultz is really funny, and I've
He's
seen him.
hysterical.
But again, and again, like myself too, he's doing it in a jovial way. He's not being mean. So I
Right?
think,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like you're never like thinking, oh my God, he's really making a black joke or an Asian joke or a Mexican joke, which I do the same. He's just having fun with stereotypes.
But
That
isn't that what Don
really,
Rickles did? Don Rickles
yeah,
was just having fun
Rickles,
with people. He wasn't being mean to people.
no,
He was just having fun at their expense. And I think that's
yeah,
what Andrew Schulz does
he's
really
great.
well.
I'm a fan of him. He's great. I just think there are some people that it does come off mean. So, and those are the ones that it becomes awkward and it doesn't work. So,
Well, I think,
um,
like I said, I think what you do with interacting with the crowd, I think to me, that's the hardest form of comedy, right? Because you got to be quick, you got to think on your feet, you've got to have a response to somebody when they're interacting with you.
yeah.
I mean, Howie Mandel used to be the master at that as well.
Howie's great, man. I mean, I worked on EGT with Howie for years, and we'd have lunch together a lot and talk. And he's a really calm guy. He's always fun. By the way, he's the dirtiest comic. He's not that dirty on stage, but just sitting and having lunch, he's
Right.
filthy. Seinfeld's the same way. Seinfeld
Yeah.
will use the F word and be filthy, but Howie's great, and Howie is one of the quickest minds. And there's times on AGT where I've slipped him some jokes and he's used them, and he thanks me, and whether or not it makes the air, it doesn't. But anyway, he's great, and that's the kind of stuff I live for too, is creating that. And when you have a line ready for something, that's what keeps me alive. Because if I had to do the same set every time, I mean, I do a lot of the same stuff, but there's never a certain order, and I'm always looking to bring the crowd in, and because it keeps me interested. Because otherwise, there's some guys that do the same jokes for years and years and years, and I don't know how they do it without going crazy, because unless it's tweaked or modified or adapted for each town or each city or each crowd, I'd go nuts. So